Baker.
Before we begin, it's Jeremy Clarkson's birthday, so a fact for Jeremy here. A fact for Jeremy. What do snails and sports cars have in common? Retractable antenna. Thank you very much indeed.
Well,
welcome to the... Quite true.
Good point.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Yes, as you can see, we've gone early. We've gone early, too damn early in my book. I'm no shrinking violet, and I did say when we came in, I said, it's a little premature, isn't it, gang? And they said, Dan, all the other shows are doing it. We don't want to be left behind. I said, what kind of reasoning is that? If every other show had, I don't know, inane, patronising, obvious phone-in quizzes just to raise revenue, would we do it? No. We stick by kids in headphones, which is coming later on. Big news, though. Big news, though. And hey, the students all here today are going to love this. Our good friends over at the Institute for the Study of Human Behaviour in Philadelphia have proved something. It's something we've pondered on this show before. You know, in the middle of the night, you wake up, it's 3 o'clock, the heating's still on, the windows are shut, you're hot. Can you go back to sleep? No, you can't go back to sleep. It's too stuffy. In the afternoon, in school or in the office, about 3 o'clock, the windows are all shut, the heating's on. What do you feel like? You just want to go to sleep. What is the deal with that? Why is one different, why is the other? Our good friends over in Philadelphia this weekend published a paper that said it is human natural behaviour to have a little sleep in the afternoons, and that any firm or school that stops people having a snooze should be taken to the court of human rights. Yes! Which brings us round very quickly. That's a fact. You can use it. It's a legal fact now. Brings us round to the pot-bellied sloth. Not bad enough that it's a sloth. It is a pot-bellied sloth. The slowest animal in the world, sleeps 20 hours a day and may be going extinct because it can't be bothered to mate anymore. Yes for the pot-bellied sloth. And lastly, before we move on, for the Sarawak land crab, which is only awake 1 day a year. So remember, everyone, the Sarawak land crab is for Christmas. It's not for life. We've got 3 questions for you this morning. Harriet in Birmingham says, from Friday, she sort of filmed Magnolia, sees it rains frogs in that. Said, is that a myth or has it ever happened? Not just frogs, we'll be telling that later on. Hilary in Cheltenham says, how do they make mirrors and what is their story? Fantastic story behind that. And Chrissy in Hayes wants to know about holly at Christmas. That's too dull, but I'll be telling you the greatest holly story you'll ever hear. Fact. And we're back to our old friend. And you wait to see this. It is the best thing we've ever done. But all that's later on. In the meantime, back to my friend.
I tell you what, that pot-bellied sloth is leaning against an open door with me.
Oh, I don't believe in reincarnation, but when it does happen...
The man who makes every day feel like Christmas, for me at least. It's Danny Baker.
What's
Mr. Baker.
Now? We've got plenty of good stuff today.
After watching, I have to say, one of my favourite films, quite frankly, Magnolia.
Are you wearing that shirt for a bet?
Well, yes, I know. Look at this. Straight flush. You wouldn't understand, Terry. It's called style. Carry on.
Magnolia, where it rained frogs, has the best soundtrack, that film.
It does.
Harriet in Birmingham wants to know if this has ever happened.
Well, yes, it is. In fact, frogs happen so often there, it barely gets reported. They're the most startling. Thank you very much. And there goes one now. The giant frog of Madagascar just dropped upon our roof. In 1794, when the French troops were in the trenches against the Austrians, they were subject to a rain of frogs so heavy that they had to abandon their trenches with many were shot because they were going to drown in the things.
You're making it up.
No, please go on your little intranets there and look any of these up. May the 30th, 1869, Grafenberg, Germany, fire. It rained fire after an electrical storm.
Fire?
It rained fire, and not in the way we're thinking the lightning bolts. Actually, drops of fire for 20 minutes rained on Grafenberg in Germany, set fire to the town. Of course, people come up with their highfalutin explanations, but we know something's going on, don't we? That's in 1869. How about this? Silver coins, June the 17th... in Russia. Silver coins, several thousand of them, just fell out of the sky. The Russian authorities said there must have been a landslide where treasure was buried. Hurricanes picked them up and brought them over town. They said, well, where are the lumps of earth then? Why just silver coins? Silver coins fell that day.
Why weren't they just silver coins?
I'm just bringing you the facts here. Don't let daylight in upon magic. Here we go. May the 3rd, 1886. Black eggs fell on Port-au-Prince in Haiti. Many of them shattered on the pavement. Some were actually kept. This is in 1886. They put them in water where they hatched. They said tadpole-like creatures, but with more skin hatched out. They all died. None were preserved. We have no idea what they may have been.
I do not believe a word of that.
I bet this then. Let's bring it right up to date. July the 3rd, 1977. In Devizes. Give us a call if you can back this up. In Devizes, down in Devon there, the beautiful, clear, unwindy night. Hay. lots of it, kept falling and falling. It wasn't a tornado, it just kept raining hay for over an hour. That was in 1977, everyone backs it up, but one for you and me, Terry, and I suspect the rest of us too. In London in 1508, it was reported that for half an hour, a sweet, potent beer rained down upon the banks of the Thames. And I'm saying that kind of weather is long overdue.
Yes,
so
indeed.
yes, frogs, but yes, everything else as well. So there you go.
OK, thank you. Hilary from Cheltenham.
Yeah.
How do mirrors work?
The very definition of a smattering of applause there, by the way. Mirrors, well, for a long time I used to look at mirrors and think, what is that stuff behind it? People say, well, it's polished, as your father. We don't know. But, of course, mirrors, 1300 would have been just a sheet of glass painted with mercury on the back, but all a bit murky. The man who was behind the mirror, Louis Lucas, in the 1700s invented plate glass, and on the back of that he could paint mercury or even silver paint. You got your good reflection. But people, even up to that point, thought it was a reflection of your soul. Said life was divided into 7-year phases, and if you shattered it while you were looking at it, 7 years of your life, etc., etc.
Oh, is that really bad luck?
That phase of your life. Yeah, as Woody Allen says, you get 7 years bad luck, but a lawyer can get you 3. So there you've got that. But how about this? One of the most famous mirror stories, and there are plenty, but I really want to get onto the demonstration.
Oh, come on, we're all excitement.
But James Dean, the last mirror he looked at was at Paso Robles just before he got into his car and was killed in the crash. Now, this mirror was in a truck stop, and it is reputedly the last mirror James Dean looked into before he got into it. For the year afterwards, women would travel to this mirror, and I suspect a few men, and leave kiss marks on it. And the fellow who owned the truck stop, at first he thought it was a good tourist attraction, but then it used to drive him nuts that he couldn't get near the mirror, and so he put a little sign next to it saying, I clean this mirror every day with the same brush I use for the toilets. After that, no more kiss marks on the mirror of James Dean. But that's the famous mirror of Paso Robles.
Wow.
These days, I'm afraid it is something as boring as... where is it? These days, they just put vaporised aluminium over the back of mirrors, and that's what you're actually looking at. If you want to know if someone's got a two-way mirror, put your finger against it. If there's a little gap between your finger and the mirror finger, that's a good mirror. If there's no gap, someone's behind that with a camera. Thank you very much. Now, here's my favourite one.
Everyone's going to be doing that.
I know.
OK, wants to know, where does holly come from?
Now, the holly thing we know is bound up in, pagan history, etc., etc. I think that's fairly well established. But how about this for the greatest holly story in the world? It takes us the story of Harvey and Daida Wilcox, who in the 1880s in America, like so many, with the invention of the railways, decided to make their way west. They went west and they started a little citrus farm over in California there, and they were doing pretty good. However, on one of her journeys back to see her sister, Daida Wilcox was saying, we're doing OK, but we need something. And she said, well, Christmas. He goes, holly. She goes, it's seasonal. She went, no, we got a holly farm around here, and people buy it all year to spruce up their houses. She went, it's perfect out that way for it. So Daida Wilcox went back to Harvey, and they started their little farm, and they put a portion of it aside to sell holly. And they really did take off, in so much so that it overtook the citrus part of it. And after a while, remember this farm was started by Harvey and Daida Wilcox, people in California would say, if you want to get there, you want to go down there past the Hollywood, to the left, there's a... Hollywood really was a real Hollywood started by Harvey and Daida Wilcox because she had a conversation with a
I will go to the foot of our stairs.
There is a real Hollywood, and it was started by those two, and it just became known as go down there, turn left at the Hollywood, and that is how the area...
Thank you for that. That was cool.
Let it snow. Over this way, everybody. So watch this, Tim. Watch this, Tim. Tim will tell you, the standard in the industry used to be, has Woody Allen give you the call for the new... But now it's, have you been present when Dan's done one of his things? Because this, my friend, this is exactly what Logie Baird had in mind when he legged it down the patent office. Look, it's our old friend Dry Ice again. The question is, can you make it snow? You're not going to believe this. The audience said... Yes.
I don't believe it.
Yes, he said. Well, you come and do it then. There we go. So, look, all of that in there, and this is good enough. I mean, that is a good enough effect. We've justified the show right
in its own right.
But once you put that in this liquid, this mixture over here, look, watch this. That's dry ice going in there. Now I stir it. Now you're going to go, whoa! Will you just check that out? It's snow, everyone. Actual, real snow. Now, you're going to watch other television programmes today. You're going to see other... But tell me this isn't what you're going to take down the pub once I've marketed it and put the patent on it. And now back to my friends.
Good grief. Hang on, I've just seen a gritter.
The what?
A gritter.
Just do it in front of the... Do it in front of the camera.
Well, I'm doing it in front of the camera.
Right in front of the lens.
Oh, come on.
Go on. Look.
Oh, and a very Merry Christmas to one
Mind
and
you,
all.
I'm bound to say you were right.